In the military, when you first join, you have to choose a job. They call it an MOS, Military Occupational Specialty. Mine was 94 Echo, 94 series Echo standing for electronics. So I worked on radios for the most part. Radios and whatever else they needed me to, pretty much. But essentially that's what AIT was. It was a trade school. I went there to learn my job for 8 months. And that was my second experience on a plane, actually. I got on in Chicago and arrived in Augusta, Georgia. Another extremely hot place. From there I hopped on I actually got screwed by a taxi. It was hilarious. The directions they gave me at MEPS when I left said to just grab one of the checkered cabs, they called them. All of them were supposed to be checkered cabs, so I just grabbed a taxi. To the base, it's only supposed to cost $10. I spent $60. That was the first time I've ever been hustled too. But he dropped me off at the gate. I got a ride from the gate to the barracks and got in. It was about midnight at this point. So I walk up to the desk with his name was Sergeant Vega standing there at the desk. He wasn't a drill sergeant, but he was still, he had that look about him. Like he'd been there at school with other drill sergeants for a while, and he knew what was up. So I went to a parade rest, with my hands behind my back, standing in front of him, dropped my bags and everything, and greeted him. And the first thing he asked me is, "What platoon do you want to be in?" I said, "I have no idea." And immediately, as soon as I said that, this guy, he exploded into the room. He was probably drunk or something, but he was just kicking stuff and being loud and obnoxious. And he was a private like I am. And he just kind of migrated by, in a sort of like a tornado, and he was gone. The sergeant didn't bat an eyelash. It was like he had known the guy or something. And so I just look over back at the Sergeant Vega, and I say to him, I want to be in whatever platoon he's not in. So I got first platoon, he said it was. Sent me upstairs and went to sleep. Woke up 3 o'clock in the morning the next morning for PT, like I'd been there the entire time. It was my first experience with responsibility. Through basic training, I didn't have a position they had squad leader, platoon guide, team leaders and such, people who make sure people are okay. They're the ones that give out orders when we're in combat and such. And so I decided at AIT that I needed to get one of these positions because responsibility was something I'd obviously have throughout my military career. So I need to learn it before I'm given a position that's more important than this. So I tried to conduct myself as well as possible, standing at attention in formation, not speaking when I'm not supposed to, doing all of my homework, everything, And eventually one of the squad leaders, he caught sight of this, and he noticed that the rest of the platoon was doing the wrong thing, and I was doing the right thing. So him and the platoon guide got together. The platoon guide is the guy who actually runs the platoon. He's in charge of all the team leaders and squad leaders and such, and he's right underneath the drill sergeant. He got together with the squad leader, and they spoke about it, and decided that when the next cycle graduated, I'd immediately get a squad leader position. And so, right off the bat, I was a squad leader. That lasted about 6 months. That was pretty awesome. Woke up every single morning, had to take care of my people, make sure their chores got done, make sure they all got to breakfast, make sure they got back all right, make sure they went to school, pretty much changed their diapers and everything. A couple months of that, and I got promoted again to platoon guide. Surprised as I am, it was another amazing experience. It was a lot more difficult than being a squad leader. I did not realize how difficult responsibility was until I became platoon guide and had to take care of 100 people all the time. I didn't have a life after that. I was like a mother. I would sit up in my room and pretty much wait for someone to come by with a complaint, and I would try to take care of it as best as possible. I had to march them to school. I had to make sure they all got fed, make sure they all got to school, because there was this thing called open learning right after school, actually, for people who were having a difficult time. I had to make sure that I had to sight on those people and make sure they actually got there and such. And so platoon guide lasted all the way until the end of AIT, actually, all through school. And because I was actually cited during school, because school and AIT, they're the same thing, but there's two different pieces of it. The school piece is separate from the actual military piece. School is run by civilians and such. And at school I was cited on because I was a platoon guide. And they decided to make me leader of my class as well. So I had two responsible positions at the same time. At school I had to pretty much do what I did as platoon guide, but do it for a couple less people. And for that position, and for the fact that I always did very well, always put my best effort into my schoolwork, I got honor graduate. And basic training and AIT, the graduations were almost the same, except my family wasn't able to attend the second one. But it was still an amazing experience. I got to shake a colonel's hand, a colonel being the man who ran the school that I was in, and I got to shake the hand of a sergeant major who actually ran the entire battalion. They each gave me coins and shook my hand, challenge coins, which are when you do something great in your military career, like gain a rank or complete a school. It's honorary, or it's customary for them to take a coin, usually inscribed with whatever achievement you got, place it in their hand, and then shake your hand and pass it on to you. So I got at least 3 of those. And that was graduation for the most part. From there we just went back to the bay. And I sat in limbo at the barracks for a while before they shipped me off back home.
That's it?
Mm-hmm. Right. My goals in the military have always been, well, they haven't always been, but like I said, to gain a responsible position, to put myself in a place where I need to try harder than what I have been, to make myself a better person, and to pretty much do anything cool that I can get my hands on. Like I've always been thinking since basic training of being a drill sergeant. Just what they do, they raise soldiers, they teach them to be who they are. They train them into, warriors pretty much. And they give them all those principles that I wanted in myself when I first started basic training. Another thing, I've always wanted to try Special Forces just because it sounds difficult, if that makes any sense. I want to challenge myself a lot. I want to do something cool while doing it. So I believe Special Forces, and of course there's things like Ranger School, and I want to try learning another language as well within the military. Then there's also Air Assault School and all those amazing schools they have within the military to learn all those cool things you want to do during Boy Scouts and stuff. Right? Just coming up as a kid, going out in the middle of the woods and surviving off like worms and with a rubber band and a knife for 3 weeks. Amazing stuff like that. But just generally, I want to do anything cool that I can. Anything to make myself better.